Welcome everyone to Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews. This is Thomas for you today with the Infiniti Q70 facelift. It has been new here now in 2015 and it's a really promising facelift, I can tell you so far. Today in our review we're going to take a look at the exterior, the interior and the driving experience and of all the changes that come with the facelift. And of course, because we've driven like all other cars in this segment here, the upper middle class segment, we can also draw some comparisons to the other models here, German manufacturers, and also for example to the Jaguars. So let's join us here for the review, and I'm also love that you tune into Autogefühl. Let's go. In the recent facelift of the Infiniti Q70, you got this new wave front grille. I think it's very beautifully done here. This one is, by the way, the Q70S version, the sports trim level, and there you got the additional lower bumper. It is way stronger, and I think it looks very beautiful. However, it's not that low, the whole car, so you don't have to be afraid that much to touch anything at the ground when you're going up a ramp or something like that. And finally, at the front here, the headlights are also redesigned. They are sharper now, looking more contemporary. I really like what they've done here in the facelift. Or what's your opinion on that? Especially maybe when you're driving a Q70 that has not the facelift yet. Looking at the side profile here, you see the general design scheme of the Infiniti Q70 is rather round and a lot of wave structures here, and I think it's very different from the other cars, and I really like it when a car is different, because especially in the upper middle class, most of the cars have this rather sharp design angles. And you see here, for example, above the headlight here or above the tire, there's a very strong design line here. It's, you know, kind of like an own design element, very unique to the Q70 or very unique to the Infiniti designs in general. Then here, looking at the alloys, we got the 20-inch alloys here. These ones come with the Q70S version, the sport version. Usually you get 18-inch alloys from series equipment. And you see here that the 2.2 liter D means we got the new diesel here that comes with the facelift, especially important for Europe and especially for Germany. Here the Infiniti cars don't sell well yet. Hardly anyone knows them, although they've been sponsoring Formula 1 for quite a long time now. But maybe it's not the best idea to sponsor the Formula 1. Maybe invest your money in something else that reaches really your customers. Yeah, but in the US, a lot of people really know Infiniti brand, and that's also famous for quite durable cars. I mean, just think about it. This car alone, the Q70, is selling in 5-digit numbers in sales in the US per year, and in Germany almost none. That's really astonishing. So if you're a Q70 owner, also tell us about that. What's your experience so far on the car? Or if you know anything about Infiniti at all, then also just post it in the comments. I'm really excited to read your comments about Infiniti in general and especially about the Q70. Let's continue here with the side profile, and I think again they have done something different. The design line here, the drop-in line, is not that sharp than with the other upper middle class cars, for example, again. Then the contrast here in this chrome color with the handlebars, also very beautiful. Again, this car is rather like you love it or hate it, I've often heard. And I must say in this case I really love it. Usually I rather like the sharp angles, but as this is such a contrast to the other designs, I'm really favoring this one. And I think it's also a little bit more beautiful than the Q50. The Q50 looks more compact, it's a middle class car, but this one looks even more evolved. However, it's a quite huge car, 4.94 in meters, so really long. You have to watch out when going in the city, for example. But when we are slowly continuing to the rear very soon, then you will also see that it's not too hard to control the car because it's not that broad. So take a look again here at the basic side profile, and you see there's a lot to see. See here they got a little small design angle built in here, so actually your eyes can be attracted to a lot of different points here of the car. It's not the most easy design, but well, a rather eye-catching one definitely. So from the rear you now see the car is not that broad actually. I think you really definitely see it on the camera. It's, well, for this class and for this size and the length, rather narrow. And that helps you when you're controlling the car inside the city. However, this is a Q70S version here. It says here as well with the red S. Just an interesting detail, the sports version. And you have to pay, well, a couple of €1,000 extra by it. In Germany it starts with 45,000 euros, this car here in general. There are actually lower entry prices for other cars in the upper middle class segment, but you then not get the same engine, not an automatic gearbox and so on. So if you put comparable trim levels, then this car is actually cheaper than Mercedes, BMW and Audi in the comparable classes here. So it's actually already a good deal. And when you then put the sports version or higher, the premium equipment for 5,000 euros extra, for example, then you go about 50,000 euros, 52,000 euros and get a really fully equipped car here in the upper middle class segment. And I think, as I said, it's really a good deal. And then we're also looking for what we expect from the interior. Infiniti actually renamed this car in 2013. So far it was called Infiniti M. Now new name structure, which is rather logical. Not that logical is actually the trunk, because it goes quite steep in, but not too high, the trunk opening, and well, you can't use it that well. You can fit big suitcase in there if you are okay with the height, but again, for this sedan, for this size, it cannot be used that much. If you maybe think of other cars in this segment, they have better usable trunks, so it's not really the strength here. But if you know your suitcase size, and you maybe get an own system for that, because in general space is there, yes, if you know really how to arrange it perfectly actually. Let's close the trunk very gently, because then I can show you the soft close. And if you think, okay, I forgot it, to close it really hard, and you don't have to. So when I just push it very gently now, then you can see the automatic close. Wait up, there it is. Nice one. Get inside either with pressing the key here. It's actually quite a standard key, nothing special in my opinion, but it works, it's quite solid. Or also I can push this button here. This is the button for the keyless entry. See, it's closed now, push it again, then it's open. And when you just hear it very carefully, well, it's correctly attached, but if you just hear sound from the inside of the door when also close it, that's maybe a thing that is rather special for the German manufacturers. This door rather feels cheaper than the ones of the German manufacturers. It's not a big thing, just a detail, but that's one deal they haven't figured out yet. However, there are other surprises in the interior which do match the German premium manufacturers, and I was quite actually positive about that. So let's dig deeper into the details of the interior right now. So what did you expect before we started this interior? because you know Infiniti is the luxury brand of Nissan, and the Nissan interiors, well, they are quite solid, let's take it that way, but they really don't look good, and the look and feel is, well, partially sometimes even horrible. But here in the Infiniti, I must say it's really great. And it's starting with the seats. Sadly, these are the full leather seats. You know, I'm not into the leather thing because animals do get harm from it always. And but the good thing about this car is here, although it's already upper middle class, they start with the fabric seats, so it's no problem to have it, and you can even save a lot of money when picking them. The seat itself, the basic form remain rather the same, and they're actually very comfortable. Also for tall people, you see there's also the seating area quite long here, so even tall people, quite unusual for Japanese cars that they really think about tall people, won't have a problem at all. And the basic seats, I must say, they're very good and add to this very comfortable feeling here in the car. If we have the full leather seats, maybe or bought it and used or whatever, then I would really recommend the vented seat function, because on these leather seats you always stick with your legs to the seats, and especially in summer times. I can show you later on in detail how this actually works. Function is actually quite good and also quite effective. So the basic overview, you see it especially here in the co-driver perspective, it's very spacious. The whole middle console doesn't fall towards you as we've seen in some other cars. It's rather pushed back, so it offers you a lot of space here. Also with this round structure here, again, the design scheme from the outside is carried on until the inside, and that's a very good thing because it's a rather stringent design scheme when it's the same on the exterior as well as on the interior. The same is for the driver, also very spacious here again. So it's really like you're coming in, okay, welcome, this is your living room, and you have a lot of space to move around. Also a lot of space on the head here. Although we already have the glass roof here, I still have a lot of space above my head, and I'm 1.86 meters in height, so it's very good. Usually you just have this kind of headspace when you're not having the glass roof here integrated, but so also with a tall driver, no problem to pick it as one, and I can show you later it's almost the same in the rear compartment. Everything else, maybe we take a look here at the middle console. You see there are a lot of buttons, and that is maybe one negative thing. I think a lot of these buttons are not that really necessary. There's still a CD slot here, and also with a lot of not really necessary buttons here. I think you could really reduce it. But what is positive about these buttons, as soon as you realized what they are actually for, I can also turn on the ignition now that you can see more. By the way, the steering wheel moved down now and the seat moved from. That's an entry help. I can show you it once more when I turn off the car now. So now take a look at the steering wheel and also at me at the seat here. I turn off the car and I open the door. Steering wheel moves up and the seat moves a little bit back. I can better go out the car or better access it again. And then when I turn on the ignition again, steering wheel moves down, seat moves forward, and I got my basic position. I can also control it electronically here on the side that have different presets, for example, one for your wife, one for yourself, for example, or the other way around, one for your husband, one for yourself, for L1 and the seat 2. Then these are the memory sets. So the instruments, let's light them up. Rather classical instrument. And what is very nice, I think, is that here, when you put it really into the detail, let's zoom in on that one, please. You see this detailed structure here on the speedometer. Look at that one. You see this checkered structure here on the right corner. I think it's a very nice detail, very nice. Well, oh, it looks like handcraft, but of course it isn't. But it's just a nice design, and I love to look at that while driving. In the middle, we got the digital instruments, where, for example, the information on the automatic cruise control are displayed. That's pretty much fine. It's not the most modern display, I must say, but everything is kind of clear in the visibility. Then let's look here at the central screen again. What is a good system? You could either use a touchscreen, for example, a co-driver likes to use a touchscreen, and you can also put it to the GPS, for example. The reaction times are also quite fast, I must say. And the second control way is below here with this central knob. It's actually better when you're driving, because when you're driving you're hopping around a little bit from the road and then it's not that easy to put it on the touchscreen. But here again I can also use the central knob. I can turn it here on the right and left, and then it's possible to just click on it to enter, and then I can also, for example, change the perspective of the map, and I have the shortcuts here, just put map and then we see it here. Again, not the most modern display, but it works actually quite fast. That's a good thing, and I think it has to work fast and has a good overview. I've tested the GPS as well in the driving mode on the motorway. I think I was very satisfied with it, and I prefer the fast loading stuff, and I really don't need the satellite view then. It just has to work, get me to the destination and not take ages when I click on the separate modes. I think it's very good. So if they would just get rid of some buttons here, everything would be fine, I think, and maybe a little bit more modern display. What they have really worked on is how everything feels here, just the surfaces here. Everything feels really high class, and also when clicking on something, that's something we rarely find in non-German premium cars, that really this haptical factor. They've had a lot of test persons actually testing these haptics of the different knobs, and this is really paid off. So if some Infiniti engineers also are watching us here right now, I think you've done a really good job here, because that really all feels high class and also in the detail. Just maybe what Audi has figured out better, that we also hear a very good sound when turning a knob, but it's, I mean, just optionally. It's very good that the haptical feeling is really superb. Same here with the automatic gear lever here, 7-speed automatic gearbox, also works flawless. And then we get to this cooled and warmed seat function. You see there are 3 levels here. You see just a small light. That's maybe not the best solution here. This is level 3 for the cooling now, level 2, level 1 for the cooling. I can also show you it on the co-driver side here. This is standard now, level 1 cooling, level 2 cooling, level 3 cooling. And it's actually quite effective. More applies to your legs, not so much to your back, by the way. And the other side would be the seat heating, level 1, level 2, level 3. This feature is optional, it does not come with the serial equipment. However, if you just stick to the fabric seats, which are from serial equipment, then you really don't need the function, because you then don't sweat so much, and also it's not that cold in the winter. In general, I'm quite amazed about this luxury equipment and also of the whole comfort they have here. Also, when you look here at the dashboard, I think this is artificial leather, I'm quite sure of it. So it also looks quite fancy when this one is covered in that one. It's not only all of this black hard plastic. This one is also a little bit softened here in the middle. Really have to search something. Where is something what we could criticize? It's really hard to find anything. So really good job here. Maybe another nice detail is the analog clock here in the middle part. Well, I've seen better analog clock or more elegant one, for example, in the Maserati Ghibli, but some people really like this analog clock. What about you? Do you love analog clocks in cars? Then post it here into your comments. There's one special thing here as well in the Infiniti Q70, what they've thought about, okay, what can we do maybe if a lot of people drive it in polluted cities or something like that and want to have some special air. We've seen it, for example, in Mercedes S-Class Coupe, that there are some scent functions here. This is kind of here also possible. You got a very just decent scent here. It's not too much, just a little bit, and there's a special wood air function, as there's a special key for it. Let's look at here. I always got to activate. I think it's quite nice. And what does it actually do? You can put it, it's called forest air, out and in. And now I'm getting the stream in here. And what does this forest air actually do? You maybe also hear that we're getting a lot more air in here now. It's not that it's a very steady airflow, it goes in waves. I thought, okay, if you enter a forest, you think about fresh air, but it doesn't come steadily, because sometimes there comes a wave of air then in the woods and you smell deep in, and actually it's a quite interesting system what they've created there. So you try to imitate a rather natural wind experience instead of the steady wind experience you usually have in the car. And then they also can put just a small scent in it that to even pop up your air experience here in the car. You don't feel too much of it, but I think it's generally a very interesting concept, and at least you can talk about it and say, hey everyone, I got forest air in here. Let's open the glass roof. It's actually possible here, just a small one, but always great to have some more light in here. Then let's check out the storage spaces. The first one is up in the ceiling for your glasses. Then let's go down. There's the one where I'm hitting my beeper for the basement garage, also 12-volt power supply. You always have to keep that cleaner, the shiny black elements. Then for your beverages here, also everything again quite solid, quite stable. Everything, also the closing mechanisms, it's all really high class. Yes, it can keep up with the German manufacturers in the build quality in the interior. Let's open the box here in the middle console. You see it automatically slides up, for example here for the automatic travel. So it's, for example, here you could put your smartphone, or maybe down here's another space, also again with a 12V supply and USB slot in here. Then we have some small space at the inside of the doors, but they are actually really small. And then we finally always have the glove box. So Katrina opens it for us. See, the glove box, not the biggest one, but yeah, the Infiniti ice scraper. Hello. Well, nice branding here. I think, is it somehow being cooled? No, I think you cannot really cool it. That just to turn off the airbag, and that is actually to, I think that's the valet function, if you can actually open the trunk separately, I think. So let's close it again, and let's just check one more time if it comes down smoothly or just falls down. Yeah, smoothly coming down. Again, another sign of good quality. So let's switch it to the rear compartment here, and more surprises here. But okay, I mean, with such a long car, we expect to have a lot of space here, and we actually do. We have both seats very, very far back already, but still then, when really huge drivers are driving in the front, got a lot of knee space still, so really also a chauffeur sedan here. From the headspace, you see I got like this kind of space left here. Would be a little bit more when we didn't have the panoramic roof, but I mean, if even 190 persons here can sit in the rear, it's perfectly fine. Actually, you're sitting quite high in comparison to other sedans here in the rear compartment. So the rear bench is quite stable. Also quite okay for long legs, you see here. So not too much space here to my knees. Very comfortable here. And as I lean back now, putting the head restraints higher, yeah, I could actually take a nap here. But what I always tend to criticize is that the classic sedan style, the back seats, you tend to fall back a little bit here, and that's not when you're, for example, sitting in the backside of an SUV. I can switch to the other side here, that I can show you the middle part, because then you see when you put this one down, quite heavy. You have some more space here on the inside, as well as 2 additional bottle holders here for the rear passengers. It is actually possible with this third seatbelt here to sit in the middle, but as this part here is kind of high, I would not really recommend it. And you see, we got the rear wheel driven car here, and therefore we also have this quite a huge middle tunnel for the differential, because obviously the power from the engine has to go all the way to the rear wheels, and then you have to transport it here. Not so much left here for your legs, and if you would sit in the middle. And then what else I can show you here in the middle part, when you come inside here around, there's actually one possibility to use the trunk even better, and this is the ski hatch here, and then you can put it all the way down here to the trunk. That's actually quite practical. and it's really necessary because I've found no way to flip the rear seats. And actually this is definitely a disadvantage. You can remove the cover here up here, but I think that's rather it. So no real practical solution to flip the seats quite fast. At least they got the ISOFIX functions here. The symbol here must be hidden. I think, yeah, I can feel them right here. There are these attachments here, the metal attachments that you can also put the child seat in here. So, but overall, also here in the rear compartment, a lot of space, and also again this really great interior quality. We are very astonished here in the Q70. So great that you're also joining us here for the driving experience. Let's start. And I'm starting right here because the seat belt, when I put it in, it's this electronic tightening here. It's a really good feature and adds even more to the safety, especially when you're like driving in winter times and got a big jacket on or something like that. So the parking brake is released as standard as in American cars. By the foot on the left side at the lower part. Let's now get off this parking lot here, and here we can already test how this rather long car, I mean 4.94 meters, performs in the parking lot. It's actually quite okay. Of course, it's not the most handy car, but for such a long car, I'm quite satisfied with it. And although we have the sports version, when I'm going down the ramp here now, it's not too bad actually, because you've maybe seen it from the outside. The car is not too low, so it's not that really very low sitting sports car where you have to pay attention at every next speed bump or something like that. So when we go, we hear the diesel. It's rather this classical diesel sound, so not the most modern one. It's from Mercedes, by the way, and the whole drivetrain is from Mercedes. They're really working together. And I think it's a good thing for Infiniti in general, because they have really proven systems they buy there, and they're also quite durable. And a lot of people told me, yes, Infiniti, I really like the cars because they are so durable, and they are really famous for that, especially in the US. And that might also be the reason where they are sold at our friends in the US that often. Here in Europe, as I told you, hardly any sales there for them yet, but that might change as maybe more people see more videos about these cars. So what can I say about driving? I've already driven it a couple of 100 kilometers now during the week and before that. And I'm generally very satisfied with the car, I must say. Also positively surprised because the riding is very comfortable. I'm really surprised of the suspension. It's like not too soft, but it's not that most sporty suspension, but it doesn't have to be actually for this car. We are in the upper middle class, and there I do not really expect a very sporty ride. You've maybe also seen our review from the Maserati Ghibli. This one is also the upper middle class, but that one is really sporty then. So if you want a rather sporty car in that upper middle class, you should probably go for the Maserati Ghibli then. This one is maybe more comparable to the Mercedes E-Class or also the Jaguar XF, the version so far, because they both are also more into the comfort style and not so much for the sporty riding. Sporty riding rather would be the BMW 5 Series or the Maserati Ghibli then. The steering wheel, by the way, is quite direct still. Also not again the most sporty experience. It's also not that small, but still it's actually just cozy to steer, let me take it that way. And the whole car, because I also have a lot of space in here, and well, it's just this middle console that's going a little bit in front of me, but in general a very spacious feeling here, and that helps me also when driving just to relax. So people asked me before that, Thomas, what do you think about the engine? 2.2 liter diesel, 170 horsepower, for such a big car. Well, it's not too heavy, 1,700 and something else kilograms, so almost 1,800 kilograms. There are heavier cars already in that class, but still, is that engine really enough? And I must say, yes, It's not the most sporty acceleration, and when I hammer the throttle, I hear the diesel is really working, but actually it is, sorry, the radio, let me turn that off. No. Actually, it's quite okay and quite fitting for that car because it really supports this relaxing style. However, there's also a V6 available if you really want that power, 3.7 liter V6. And there's also the V6 in combination with a hybrid. So these ones are also the possibilities. However, in Europe, this smaller diesel will be the most successful one because it's also the most fuel-saving one, and it's also quite important. I have had a lot of motorway driving here as well, and was also quite okay with the consumption. It's actually below 7 liters on 100 kilometers, and I think that's quite good. So I also on the motorway had enough power actually that I could, for example, overtake some cars, and so I think this engine is really okay for that car, and it supports the whole concept. The sound insulation could be a little bit better. Now at lower speeds I can't moan so much about it, but when the road is wet especially and you're going faster on the motorway, then you feel a difference to the German manufacturers, premium manufacturers, that they figured it better out with the sound insulation. But still, I think it's a car, you drive it even longer, get used to it, and say, okay, I really want to keep it. And that's, I think, a very positive thing. Another thing that surprised me here as well when driving, when I'm just controlling stuff while driving, for example, something at the GPS or also at the sound, I again felt that quality impression of the whole car, and that also supported this view that I see, okay, I really want to keep the car. And not many manufacturers besides the German premium manufacturers manages to create this kind of quality feeling in the interior, and especially also while driving. I think that's also a very positive thing about this car here. The automatic gearbox I have in here, also nothing bad to say about it. It does the job. You don't feel so much shifting transition here, so it's a very smooth ride here as well. Then there was, for example, the panoramic roof, where another camera is sitting here right now. And well, it's not such a huge panoramic roof actually. It's rather a very small one, but it's good to have it, of course. And it lets a little bit more light in the interior, and I would definitely go for it, because you generally have a lot of headspace here as well, and that again supports this very spacious feeling here while riding. Now, as we are standing here in front of the red traffic light, in this car it's actually not a problem. I was, for example, lately in Düsseldorf, and there was a lot of traffic, and people were like becoming very hectic, saying, oh my god, I really want to get home. And well, I was singing as well, I really want to get home. But in this car you really calm down and say, okay, whatever is happening outside, I have this cozy ride here and I'm feeling quite comfortable, whatever should happen. I've told you in the interior perspective that we have this vented seats here as well, the heated seats, all of the options, and that also helped me then to keep cool. This is now the parking device, warning me that I'm too close to the car in front of me. Let me remove that. Okay, now it is. Yeah, actually to the vented seats, you know, I'm not a fan of leather seats, and you shouldn't be as well. But when you really have them here, it's useful to have these vented seats because you tend to stick on the leather seats. And now in the summer times when it's so warm and I'm always sweating, then I have it on the cooling level 3, and then it's actually quite okay. But it would be better if you just put the fabric seats and the car is still on the top luxury level. And it's actually, as I told you, possible here as well just to go for the fabric seats. So I think a lot of people will also stand in traffic here with this car, and again I can just stress it's also behaving well in traffic. One criticism point, however, is the automatic cruise control, the adaptive cruise control. On the motorway it's working pretty well, I must say, and also reduces the speed until 0 kilometers an hour. But then when you're standing still, there are sometimes other ACCs with functions that it's also working in traffic. Here it's not working that well actually, because you're standing still and then after some seconds the system turns off and then it goes to the front automatically again. You're quite surprised by that and have to hit the brake yourself. and that can actually cause some problems. If I just test again here the dynamic ride and put it right and left here with the steering wheel, actually no problem. You see, it's a rather cozy ride, not too direct the steering, but also not too indirect. It's something in between. But sporty riding is still a little bit of fun with the car, because you don't feel the weight too much actually, and you still have that rear wheel drive even if you have only the diesel. And I mean, rear wheel drive is always more fun as the front wheel drive, and so you also feel it when you get a little bit pushed in the corners, because the front wheel drive cars, they pull you, and the rear wheel cars, they push you, and that's really a difference then still, especially in such a heavy car then. So I really would go for that. However, there's also an all-wheel drive possible if you go for the bigger engine, but it's not really necessary. If you have problems, however, with the rear wheel drive in the winter times, there's also this winter changing mode, and if I go into that now, the snow mode, then what is happening when I push the throttle? Hardly anything is happening, doesn't go really forward. It really reduces the throttle input, and that helps you while driving on snow, that you don't have so much wheel spin then. It's quite a good function, but you have to think about if it's totally slippery and you don't get forward at all, then better turn it off, because sometimes there is some spin needed that you just get going, just get it rolling. And that's actually quite okay, because the diesel isn't so powerful anyway, and so maybe most of the time you really won't need that snow mode. But it's of course good to have it as this additional electronic device. So overall, very relaxing car, I must say. Very satisfied with it. I think it's, just for me, even better than the Infiniti Q50, although it has a more practical size on the outside, of course, because it's the middle class segment. But again, I must say, it really can catch up to the German premium manufacturers in this class, and it's seldom that we can actually say that. And by the way, one short look at the rear view camera. I'm activating it here. I got the fake view from above, and actually the rear view camera is already in the serial equipment, and the left side, it's not the best angle, I must admit, but at least you see the lines change when I can see where I'm going. But the fake view from above is really better. I think I can also switch the view. There's, for example, it's inspired by the Nissan safety shield here as well. There I can really see I can protect my alloys here as well. That's also quite interesting. And another view here that can have the full view on the rear view, but actually it's not the best resolution, as you might see, so I have seen better one. The general system is good, but I would like to have a better resolution. So let me conclude about the Infiniti Q70 facelift. I think it's a really good one. I love the new front grille and the new headlights and the design in general, because it's so unique, especially in this class. Here with the S, the sports version, the front bumper even adds more to this sporty and very unique design even more, I think. So overall, a very prominent design, and I think they have firstly even worked more on the quality here in the interior, in the facelift and on the suspension, and both paid off totally. We got a very good interior quality that can catch up to the German premium manufacturers, and we can hardly, actually almost never say that in, for example, especially with Japanese cars, and here it really works. Maybe the display and a little bit too many knobs and something like that. Not the most modern display settings and just the visual perspective. But everything is working kind of flawlessly and also very fast. So actually there's not so much to moan, and we couldn't really find things to criticize, and it's also always a good thing. Then the driving experience was also very promising, I must say, because it was a very smooth and soft ride. As I told you, they worked on the suspension, really paid off there as well. It's not that sporty sedan here, then you really have to go for the Maserati or for the BMW. But if you compare it, for example, to the Mercedes or also the Audi, I think it's the Audi is in between there. You really have to go for search for the smooth ride here, then you're really satisfied with it. So I think it's a very comfortable and also relaxing car. So no matter what you hear from the outside, if some other crazy motorcycle riders are outside here and try to get you out of the concept, when you're sitting inside the Infiniti Q70, you don't care so much what's happening outside. Maybe next time the sound installation could be a little bit better. That's actually one thing they could still be improving there, and then everything would be really perfect. So I really enjoyed this ride here. Was very astonished about the interior quality, and so my overall rating is, well, in the US, a lot of people already realized that this car is a very good alternative in the upper middle class segment. In Europe, hardly anyone. And I think even with this review, we'll maybe change it a little bit, because when more people know about the quality this car offers, actually the numbers can change. What is very important, that they finally get into the segment for the business customer, the big fleets. This is especially important in Europe and even more important in Germany. Therefore, this new 2.2 liter diesel that came with the facelift, which is kind of fitting for this car, and also basic good quality because it comes from Mercedes. This one is maybe also an opener now for the business fleet customers. So, thank you again for watching this review, and I want to hear more of your comments about our reviews, and especially on this car, and also maybe on the competitors if you had some experience with these cars in that class. So, thank you again. I hope to see you next time as well on Autogefühl. This is Thomas for you. Thanks, bye.